What's up guys, Damian Keyes here, welcome back to the channel. So 2020 hasn't been the most inspirational year to be a musician.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. After all, there's no live gigs and that's taken away a huge percentage of income. And when it comes to royalty rates, they're so low that by the end of the month, maybe you can put a down payment on a Mars bar. But don't worry, because I think I have a solution to save the music industry, and it's all based around copyright, which is, let's face it, an absolute mess. Now, copyright law has been in the news quite a lot of late, partially because of Twitch, which we'll talk about in a minute, but also because of the NFL. Recently, many sports teams have been warned for their use of music, especially within social media. With one team, which I believe to be the Arizona Cardinals, got fined a six-figure amount for copyright infringements. So think of it like this. When you go to see your favorite sports team, in that venue, the venue has a license, which means it's allowed to play music. However, maybe before or in the middle of or during or after the match, the star player gets interviewed. Now, whilst it gets interviewed, you cannot be held responsible for what is in the back, what music is playing over the top of it. But because the license only controls what's inside the venue, if that then goes on the social media and starts getting beamed outside, now we have a huge problem. And the labels have got smarter and smarter over the last couple of years, which means now there are literally departments who just deal with copyright. And that isn't just when it comes to sports teams, as has been in the news of late, but also when it comes to YouTube or other platforms. Their job is to sit there, just get paid a bunch of money to go through YouTube or any other platforms to say, no, you can't use that. We are putting a copyright claim. We'll take the money. Thank you very much. The labels know that they can pay someone $30,000, $40,000, but generate 10 times that income from just their library being used illegally on copyright issues. And then there's been the Twitch war. Amazon, who bought Twitch, it's now worth $4 billion. And the big owner of Amazon, Lord Jazzy Jeffy B, as I like to call him, was interviewed recently. Actually, I think he went to court recently, and they said to him, Jeff, do you know if you are paying royalties to all of the artists that you are getting your streamers to use their music? And his answer after pondering was, I don't know. Well, let me tell you, Jeff, your son, you don't pay them. Nobody gets any money from royalties from Twitch. And that is a huge big deal, especially for the labels, the big three. Now, to combat that, what Amazon and Twitch have done is they have released the Twitch soundtrack, which is effectively a catalog of royalty-free music that Twitch streamers are allowed to use. But there's a huge problem with this, which is Twitch streamers don't want to use royalty-free music. They want to use their favorite music. They want to stick Spotify on and they want to be playing and gaming and beaming all of their stuff, their creations, with the music that they want. And on top of that, how on earth are you going to police 15 million streams every single day? Everything is now out of date. All of the licensing, all of the copyright law, it's completely out of date. But in this scenario, there are three parties and everyone is pointing to somebody else. Those three parties are the platform, in this instance, Twitch, but it could be Facebook, it could be YouTube, saying, hang on a minute, we're just a vehicle. We allow creators to create on our platform. And we can't be held responsible for what they put on it. That's not our fault. We're just a vehicle, and so therefore it's not our responsibility. Then there's the creator, the Twitch streamer, who says, well, hang on a minute, I'm just doing what I'm allowed to do. I'm sitting there, I'm gaming on something that I've already purchased, and I'm creating. I'm the one who's doing the entertaining as I play the game for people to watch. And those people come in, and there might be something on in the background, but that's not the show. I am the main show. The same way as a musician wouldn't actually have to pay any kind of royalty to Fender or Gibson in order to use that guitar to do a performance, this is not fair. And then there's the artist that say, hey, you two fight it out amongst yourselves. I don't care because we aren't getting anything at all. But Twitch is worth $4 billion and it is getting money through every day. And then there are massive Twitch streamers who are making millions off the platform, and a part of that is having music embedded into their streams. Then there's the games companies who are getting plenty and plenty of money through streamers and people playing the games. All fantastic. But the people who lose out is us, the artists, and you are benefiting from our art. So I don't care who pays, but somebody has to pay. So out of those three, who is to blame? Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter who's to blame, because this is the result of a very outdated copyright system. In fact, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, bit of a mouthful, which was put together in 1998. Just think about that for a minute. Most of the Twitch streamers were not even born when this Copyright Act was put into place. If you think about it, Twitch, that was 2014 when that was bought by Amazon and is now worth 4 billion. When it comes to Spotify, 2006. When it comes to YouTube, 2005. When it comes to Facebook, 2004. All of these places, which are huge platforms, which are not paying the royalties, were all made after the copyright law. And as a result of that, they are not paying fair royalties to you, the creator. So for someone like Jeff Bezos, who's already avoiding paying all of the tax, ooh, controversial, but now on top of that, he's avoiding paying any royalties. It's like he's some kind of god who's just above everything. So with that in mind, this is what I think needs to happen very soon for us to bypass all of these issues, for everybody to win, because the artists need to win. And also, we are not going to get rid of technology because technology is evolving all of the time. We need something which is stable enough for the next 5 to 10 years of technological evolution. Number one, all platforms where any kind of music is used need to have some kind of broadcasting license. And I would go as far as to say an annual review of that license, which means if Spotify have to pay for that library, if Apple have to pay for that library, then you're damn sure that Twitch should have to pay for that library. That should be completely fair enough. And just like radio, which has a broadcasting license, they have to pay a different amount of royalties depending on the different size of the radio station, which should be the same thing. If you are Twitch, you should have to pay for the same library as Spotify. Number two, now this one's going to be a bit controversial, you might not like this one, but I think if you're a creator, you should have to have a creator license. And that creator license might be 20 bucks. And instead of paying 10 bucks for Spotify, you pay 20 bucks and you get the same use of any library. And that means you can use any music in any of your streams or any music that is within that library. And therefore, you are getting two sets of money for creators. Number one, it's coming from the platform, and number two, it's coming from the money from the creators, which if that creator is going to make money, I think that's fair. And if the creator says, well, hang on a minute, that's not fair, I don't want to use other people's music, great. Don't pay it, don't have any fines, and don't get blocked. No problem at all. But if you do want to use someone else's art, that's copyright. That's not allowed. That's benefiting from someone else's art. So therefore, let's have a simpler solution rather than having to go to the Harry Fox agency and spend hours and hours trying to get a license for one song, which is very unrealistic on something like Twitch, which might have 5 or 6 hours worth of streaming and might have 50 songs. You're not going to do that. So this is a simpler solution. Then we need to have a new weight system, a new weighted system when it comes to how much you get paid depending on what your music is. This has been in place on radio, TV for decades. Therefore, if your music gets played on a big radio station, for example, Radio 2, which is probably the biggest radio station in the whole of the UK, you'll get about 80 quid, about $100-ish for prime time slot on Radio 2. If you're on Radio 1 on the BBC introducing, then you'll probably get about $1, which is fair because they're introducing you, they're giving you a little bit of a push towards your career, and you're getting a small amount of royalties. If you go to local radio, it might be $1, it might be $2. Now, when it comes to TV, very different because you have UK versus the US. UK, very small country, and so if you got onto a huge TV show like Made in Chelsea, you might get a couple of $100, maybe $200. But if you're on TV in the US, Now that can set you up for life, because if you take someone like Natasha Bedingfield, who wrote Unwritten and released that in 2012, and in 2012 she was the most synced artist for that song in the whole of the year, with an average, get this, with an average of $60,000 per placement. So when she was on the hills and she had her track as the title theme, plus everywhere else it was, she was making millions from one track. But so she should, because this is the biggest country with the most amount of users. Now, if you take that across to Twitch or YouTube and you look at people like Ninja or PewDiePie or Logan Paul, these are mass influencers who have millions of people watching. So therefore, they should be weighted slightly differently. But here's the best bit. How about this? How about out of the 100% of money that you get from whatever platform, 20% goes into a royalty collection, which means if you don't use anyone else's stuff, you get the 20%. But if you do use someone else's, that 20% goes to them. And if you use two people's, it gets split 10% each. And if you use 4, 5% each, etc., etc. Now, this is where it gets clever, because what we don't want to do is what happens at the moment, which is we say, if you use someone else's material, I'll put a copyright claim on your video and I'll take all of the money. So therefore, what is the benefit of you using someone else's song? None at all. But if it was just 20% and you said, well, hang on a minute, now what I can do is I can use someone else's track, I'll pay them the 20%, which is worth it because I'm going to get the benefits of using that music. Then it becomes an ecosystem. Someone like PewDiePie says, hey, I'm making plenty of money. I'm going to use your music. You're going to get 20% of a PewDiePie video. Fantastic. That's a huge amount of money. That comes back into the system. All of a sudden, covers is a thing. You can do a cover. Yeah, no problem. I'll do a cover. 20% goes to the artist. They get a bit of money. I get to play covers without the hassle of getting any kind of copyright strike. All of a sudden, nice and easy, everybody wins. The big players win, the platforms win, the artists win. Why can it not be as simple as that? I believe if we do not sort out licensing and copyright very, very soon, we are going to have some kind of implosion. We're constantly talking about the $0.0032 that you get for a stream on your music, which is very, very little and very, very difficult to build a career out of. But music is used everywhere, all around the world, on gaming, on YouTube, on TV, on radio. There should be ways where you can actually get your music heard and you can get paid for it. But unless we can change the licensing, unless we can make it easier, and unless we can make it an ecosystem where the money flows around, like a blood flow, around the system, where it goes around all of the creators, unless we can do that, we are going to have huge problems moving forward, because artists simply cannot afford to live and they cannot afford to create. So that is how I think we can save the music industry. And I don't know where we take this, but I think we should write to somebody, maybe the god of music, maybe Dave Grohl or something, maybe he can help. But that's the way I think that we could tackle how young up-and-coming creators can get paid for their art long-term. I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you think I'm an idiot. I've got no problem with that. But more importantly, if you can like, subscribe, come be a part of this community, because I'm so proud of what we are building. And also, if you want to work with me on more of a one-to-one basis on these crazy harebrained scheme, then don't forget to check out DK Music Business Academy. The link is in the description. It's a place where we can work on your music. There's loads and loads of courses. There's live sessions with me. Plus, on top of that, there's a community of amazing musicians, and I'm very, very proud of it. So go and check that out. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.